So we're taking the Z690 Apex on its maiden journey. Unfortunately we don't have the i3 because it got delayed, so we've got the 12900K in there for now. Just going to make sure the board works, make sure my RAM works, because quite a few people got RAM which didn't actually work, so that wasn't great. Utilising the PS2 keyboard and mouse. Got a USB stick in to save any scores, and we have the mighty EVGA GT710 in as well. So I've just updated the BIOS to 811, which is the latest version. It had, I think, 0231 on it before. You can see both the sticks of memory are detected, but I haven't done all else yet. So I'm probably just going to go with XMP and see what happens. Never ran DDR5 yet. Obviously I was running DDR4 before. So okay, that puts in quite a few settings there. Looks pretty loose. Yeah, that's not great. I wonder if there's any profiles built into the board. It's a lot of memory presets. Here we go. That's what we want. A lot of Hynix presets. Oh, there's a couple of Samsung ones down there, 6000. So we'll try those later. Just go with the XMP speed for now, I think. So the Apex was complaining that we didn't have a CPU fan plugged in, despite us having plenty of fans plugged in. So I put the blue LED Intel fan on. It's blue LED, not RGB. Now the memory is pretty much stone cold. You can see it's running 5.4 to 5.5 on the one core, and multi-core is running about 5.1 to 5.2, and this is just with the Asus AI overclock thing and XMP enabled. It's only 4.1 on the E-cores as well. So there we go, that's pretty much XMP 6000 C36. It's just about to finish, and there you go. So that's what score it gets. With just the AI overclock, I've beaten this on a DDR4 board, so that's not very impressive. Anyway, we'll push the CPU up to 5.2 on all of the cores and then see what the memory can do, I think. So I've just downloaded Asus Turbo V Core to basically see if it works. So at the minute we're at 1.3 volts, 5.2. I'm just going to bump the voltage up a little bit and press apply. Let's see if that works. Yeah, it seems to have gone up a little bit. So we'll go up to 1.36. Apply that. Yeah, 1.35. CPU ratio, go to 5.3. It should be at 53. It's unfortunately down clocked. Let me just get another CPU Z. Oh, there we go. It's gone up to 53 on one core. That's not very helpful, is it? There we go. So it's 53 on all cores, 42 on the E cores. That's good. So my i3 12100F has arrived. So let's see how it goes. You can see it's there. You can see the batch number V145L. Is that an L or an I? I don't know. 909. So there we go. I'm going to put the water block on it. Got it in the Apex. I'm going to do some BCLK overclocking and see how it does, hoping for at least 5 GHz really. I've seen quite a few doing 5.2. So we've got the i3 12100F in the Apex. I got that right that time. And you can see we're in the Extreme Tweaker Paradise, and it says unlock BCLK OC. Enable. So we're just going to see what happens. I've got the cache set to 41 and the core set to 41 with its single cores. Voltage wise, I'm going to start at 1.3. See how we go from there. It should run pretty cold. You can see at the minute it's running at 11 degrees. So if I go on to manual, BCLK frequency, we'll start with 110 and hopefully that should give us 4.5 gigahertz. We'll see what happens. Boom! So there we go. 4.5 gigahertz i3 12100F. That is pretty cool. BCLK overclocking is back. Obviously the RAM is just at potato stock timings. But yeah, that is pretty exciting. So let's run a benchmark here. It's not going to be mega fast, obviously, because it's only an i3, but damn, look at that thing go. It's not bad for a quad core. Now, I haven't actually run a quad core CPU for quite a few years, so I don't really know what quad cores are supposed to get with 8 threads. It's like an old i7, isn't it? So probably about 1,000, I think. Obviously that was once the i7 was fully overclocked. Oh, there we go. Straight in at 1346 there. Don't know what that is. That says it's 12900K, so that's interesting. Don't know what's going on there. I think that was a broken score from some other time maybe. Anyway, there you go. 1346. Let's see if Asus Turbo V Core works. So this tool allows me to change the clock from within Windows. So we can check over here. What I'll do is I'll just leave it running the CPU-Z stress test, so that we keep the clock speed up here. So obviously CPU ratio, can't do anything with that, that's blanked out. But the BCLK should be able to go to say 111. And there we go, 4.55. Let's try go all the way up to 115. There we go, that's 4.7 gigahertz at 1.2 volts. So see how warm it's getting as well. So you can see the temperatures over here. It's pretty cold. So it's running Cinebench now, and it's at 4.7. Wow, not even 50 degrees, so that's pretty nice. This is running really cool. It's only at 1.26 volts under load, mind. There we go, that's 1412. Let's keep going. Need me Turbo V Core up again. So what we are on the memory. Okay, so the memory's over 5,000 now, but this memory can do 6,000, so that's not a problem. We'll go to 120 next. Like that. Oh, looks like it's frozen. So it just crashed, as you saw. So I've now got it running at 4.9, which is 120 BCLK. I've set the XMP timings on the memory, but I've lowered it down a bit in speed so that it's not going too quick for this little i3. So it's 6000 MHz XMP is this Trident Z5 kit that I've got in here, but I don't know whether the i3 can run it, so we just got it set to about 5200 I think it is. So let's try it again. This is still at 1.3 volts set in the BIOS. So there we go, that's 1476. That is pretty good. See if we can get 1500, shouldn't be too hard. So I'm going to try that Asus Turbo V again. And I think we need about 122 or 123. Right, that's 4.85 or 4.9. It's not quite 5. A bit more. There we go, almost there now. Yeah, it's 122 for 5 GHz, and there it is running at 5 GHz on just 1.26 volts under load. And it is running Cinebench as well. There we go, 1495, so it's almost at 1500 with 5 GHz. That is pretty juicy. We'll keep going though, it has a lot more left in it. We're only at 1.3 volts, and I'm sure it's not running very warm either. So we're now in at 125 on the base clock. I've just upped the voltage a little bit to 1.35 in the BIOS, just over 5.1. To give you a bit of reference as to what this CPU is performing like with 4 cores 8 threads, here's a score with a i7 7700K at 6.72 GHz, and that's 1500 in Cinebench R15, and that is on LN2. So you can see there, if it loads, yeah, that guy is running LN2 full pot at 6 GHz, 6.7 GHz, and it's getting wrecked by an i3 at 5 GHz. So this i3 is very impressive. So we're dropping down to 1.3 volts under load, bear in mind. And there we go, 1535. So the i7 7700K 1508, i3 1535. It's hilarious, isn't it? So there you go. I'm going to keep going until it stops basically, but this is great. This CPU was pretty much £100, so pretty cheap, especially for a modern CPU, and the performance is kicking out. I think for most games this would probably be really good, unless you're playing AAA games all the time, then you might not keep up, but you know, this is very impressive. So I've just upped the BCLK a little bit to 127, and we're now at 5.2. It's running Cinebench R15, and I've just got the temperature monitor up here, and you can see the hottest core is 59 degrees. Now obviously it's on some pretty serious water cooling, but I'm pretty sure this would be coolable on a decent air cooler so far. My water cooling is normally about 20 degrees or 30 degrees better than an air cooler. You can see it's idling at like 13 or 11 and 12, so it's pretty cold in here, but yeah, it's just chugging away nice and cold, and it can run it over and over again, and it is dropping down voltage wise to about 1.3. There it is again. Obviously it scored a bit less because I've got all these things open. So let's try a little bit more. I'll just get Asus Turbo V up again. So we're going to go to 128. Going up a bit slower now because obviously it's more likely to crash the faster you go. This is 5.25. There we go, 1574. That passed fine. Keep going. Try 129. Should be almost 5.3. It's 5.288. Might have crashed. There we go. So that is voltage, I think. So yeah, it can do over 5.2 gigahertz in Cinebench. Obviously it's not exactly Prime 95, is it? But I mean, it'd easily do 5.1 even in Prime 95, I reckon, and we've still got more voltage headroom yet as well. So now the only thing is, I've noticed it does take a while to post, or it did the first time. It wasn't too slow to post that time, but sometimes when you change the base clock in the BIOS, it is quite slow to post. So let's go. I think 129 we were on just then, weren't we? And stick it to 1.4 volts. See what happens. Right, so it was crashing a little bit there at 5.3, but it wasn't actually the core, it was the uncore frequency went over 5 gigahertz, and it wasn't liking that. So the memory is at 58 something or other, so almost 6,000 now, which is almost the XMP speed. The CPU's nearly at 5.3, and as you can see, it should be working alright now. I've only run this a couple of times just to test, but it's still drooping down to 1.35. I didn't raise the voltage. All I've done is lowered the cache ratio. I think I've got the cache on 38x rather than 39x now, because you want to run it as close to 1-to-1 with the CPU multiplier as possible. But obviously the cache doesn't like going over 5 gigahertz. So you can see we're getting up to 66 degrees now. So this will probably be the limit of some kind of AIO or other cooler like that. But I'm just going to keep going until it reaches pretty much 85 degrees. So we're just going to keep going with the voltage here and the base clock. So let's try 130. So this is now over 5.3. Oh, and it's crashed pretty much straight away. So we clearly are getting to the limit of the processor because it's needing a lot more voltage. So I've finally got it working at 130, or to post from the BIOS at 130, and it took quite a while. With the memory at 5800 as I had it before, it wouldn't quite post. It'd take ages to train and it wouldn't quite post. So what I've done is put it back down to 5700, and I've tightened the timings a bunch. It took ages to train it, multiple attempts to boot up, but we managed to get there in the end. So we'll now see if it's stable at 5.3. This will be funny if it isn't. So I'm literally just gonna run R15 here. I have got the C states disabled as well, by the way, but you don't have to do that. So there we go. It hasn't got enough juice, I think. Either that or the memory isn't stable. Let's just try again. I'd prefer it to blue screen. I think it's going to blue screen. Yeah. So originally when I was doing the BCLK, we were up here at 5900, and I've just tried that 5720. I'm actually going to put it all the way down to 5547 now, because I believe we're not quite at 5 gigahertz on the cache where it crashed last time. So I think it is the memory rather than the CPU core, but I guess we'll find out in a second. The other thing as well that the Apex has to any other boards is this Runtime BCLK thing, and what this allows you to do, instead of using the Asus Turbo V, which I was showing you a minute ago, you can use these two buttons on the board. That is these two here and here, and in the OS I'll be able to press those and the base clock will go up and down by 0.2 megahertz. You can set whether it goes up by 1, 0.1 or obviously in between. So we'll give that a go and see if that works as well. Attempt 9004,052,000,052. Got about 5500 on the memory. 34, 36, 36. Still at 1T though. And let's see if it can actually run Cinebench without crashing for once at 5.3. 1.4 volts. Well, that didn't get very far, did it? Yeah. So my CPU can't do 130 on the base clock. You can see this is at 129 and it has crashed. It's only getting 71 degrees though, but I think it's got a bit too much voltage maybe. Let's just lower it a little bit, because it was working alright earlier at 129 on the base clock. Let's try that again. So it's dropping down to 1.376 now. And the temps will be a bit lower, so I think he's actually scaling with the temperature. You can see it's only hitting 68 on the hottest core now, where it was at 73 before, and you can see it completed fine that time. Run it a couple more times. Right, so now that we've established that is stable enough to run a couple of runs, and lower voltage is more better in this case. I'm going to show you the BCLK buttons. So I haven't got Asus Turbo V open, as you can see at the bottom. So I'm just going to press the up button and it should go up by 0.2. So you can see it's now 129.2. Should be 129.4. So all I'm doing is using these two buttons here. Top one's plus, bottom one's minus. This is only on the Asus Apex as far as I know. Don't think any other boards have this feature. So we're running over 5.3 now, and it is 69 degrees. That's worked again. So go up one more. Right, so now it's crashed by the looks of it. So it looks like just above 5.3. The mouse is still going, but I think Cinebench has died. So we'll go back down again. So it does do pretty much exactly 4.3, or 5.3, sorry.